Hello, and welcome to 5 Minute Math. Today we are looking at the 8th grade concept of unit rate, specifically how we could graph it from a word problem, and we'll do it in 5 minutes or less. So we have a sample word problem here. Stacy's hiking around National Park. She hiked a total of 500 miles at a constant rate. All right, so what does that tell us, this constant rate here? That tells us that we are dealing with direct variation. Okay, so y equals kx, where k is that unit rate. Over 125 hours, we need to create a graph showing her rate as the slope. All right, so let's see if we can find that slope. That's what we're looking for right here. If we were dealing with our slope-intercept form, it would be m, y equals mx plus b, but we don't have any type of y-intercept other than through the origin here. So what do we know? Hike total of 500 hours, a total of, that lets us know that's going to be our dependent variable. So that's 500 equals, and then our independent variable, or x, is going to be 125, multiply that by k. So in order to isolate that, right, we're going to divide both sides by 125, and that's going to get 5. All right, so 5 miles an hour, that's a pretty good clip. So that's going to be our k. So how can we graph that? Because we've got our independent variable right there, hours. We got our dependent variable right there, miles. And we can't graph 500 or 125 because our graph only goes to 15. So let's just get a few points on here. Okay, so let's first start with direct variation. It is going to be 0, 0. And what we know is that our k is going to be 5s, right? So we can just say, all right, y equals k is 5 times, let's say she walks for 1 hour, okay? Well, that's going to be 5. So 1 and 5. So it's going to be a pretty steep slope. We're not going to be able to graph a whole bunch. So our y is going to be 5 times 2 if we make it 2 hours, right? So our x is 2 and our y is 10. And we can graph that right up here. And then we have probably just one more, right? If our x is 3, we're just multiplying by 5. That's our constant there. So we are going to make that 15. So that's how we could graph this. And if we wanted to, we can make a very, very steep line that goes through all of these, and that's what it would look like. In this example, we've got City High School creating projects for an art fair. Once again, we have a constant rate. We've got 5 projects over 25 hours, right? So we are going to go ahead and just solve for our constant of proportionality. We learned about that in 7th grade, that k is our constant. It's simply rise over run, y over x. So we've already got these labeled here. All right, we've got our projects. It's going to be our y-axis, y value. X is going to be our hours. So what do we know here? I've got 5 projects, okay, over 25 hours. If I want to simplify that, that looks like that's going to be 1/5, or I could say 0.2. This can be a very shallow slope. So let's go ahead and graph this, because I can graph the 5 projects, but I can't graph the 25 hours. My graph isn't big enough, right? So let's go ahead and do x, y, right? We're going to have 0 and 0. And rather than having started with my x of 0.2 and 0.4, right, I want to figure out it takes how many hours, 5 hours for one project, okay? So I'm going to do it like this. 5 hours for one project, right? Y equals kx, so that 1 equals 0.2 times 5, or 1/5 times 5. 10 hours for 2 projects, and that's as much as I can get. That 3 projects in 15 hours. So I can graph it like this.